Hi everyone. For this video, I'm going to be talking about common problems in using calligraphy tools. So sometimes, we all encounter problems like splattering or blotting or railroading, things like that. So I'm going to demonstrate these problems and show you how to fix it. I will be covering nibs, paper and ink, but I will start with nibs. So the first thing to do is make sure that the nib is good. I have here a new Leonard principle, and to test whether or not it's good, I'm going to hold it against my nail and press down. So you can see the tines are spreading. You want to make sure that the tines are completely symmetrical and not one leg is higher or lower than the other. So if that's happening, then that's a bad nib. So this nib, you can see it's completely symmetrical, so it's a good nib, so it shouldn't fail me. If you're buying your nibs in a store, then this is a good idea to pick them up and one by one test them out. The first problem I want to mention is this. If you think your nib is not supposed to be all noisy, nibs are loud. It creates friction and it's scratchy. It's not smooth at all. I have to point this out because when you're using a fountain pen, it's smooth, sometimes, people actually buy fountain pens that feels like butter, they said. Very, very smooth, creates a soft sound, and it's just like butter on butter. That is not what you should expect from a nib. First timers always say, oh my god, what's wrong with my nib? It's scratchy and it's like, you just can't stand it. Like nails on chalkboard. Well, that's normal. It's completely normal. Some nibs are scratchier than others, and some nibs make more noise than others. For example, the Gillot 303 is very, very musical and very, very scratchy. So that's completely normal. Okay. So this is the first problem I'm going to demonstrate. See if it happens to you. Okay, it's being all wonky because I didn't clean the nib. All nibs come with a factory oil, so you gotta clean it before you use it. And you can clean it using a window cleaner or rubbing alcohol, or you could use a dish soap. For myself, I'm just gonna use rubbing alcohol. So just make sure your towel is clean and just like wipe it on the several times, and this should take care of any oils or impurities on the nib. It's very sensitive, they'll pick up anything on it. So once it is cleaned, make sure to never touch the nib again. Now I'm going to show you a really obvious mistake. I can write, but it feels kind of wobbly and weird. Now this is the second problem. So obviously the nib is in both cases too far out and too deep into the flange. So in this case it's way too in, so that when I dipped it into the ink was, you know, caught on the side of the holder. That creates stuff like that. And on the other problem, it was way too out like that it's all wobbly and weird. So you want to make sure that your nib is parallel to the middle of your holder. So this is the middle, and the point of the nib comes down right in the middle. So speaking of, if you're using one of these speedball holders, this problem is quite common because these flanges do not give you a lot of options. So if you're using like a bigger nib, like a Zebra G, the only way you can hold it is like that because it can't go any further. And you can see it's kind of off, this nib, the holder, and it's kind of like towards this side, which is why I don't really like these plastic holders. They're really cheap and they're available, but they're just not, you know, not optimal. So if you can, and if you really want to invest, get a flange with a metal holder. Any holder with a metal one works well, because with these plastic ones you can't change it. It's stuck like that forever. But with a metal one, you could use a pair of pliers and you could press it up, you can press it down, you can turn it in, out, you know, up to you. So yeah, this is another problem I'm gonna demonstrate. This is railroading and blotting at the same time. This is a blot, and these are railroading because I'm trying to go, but it just doesn't follow me, and it creates a railroad. Well, this could be caused by a lot of problems, but the most obvious problem is I wasn't dipping far enough. I was only dipping towards the tip. So you should always dip past the eye of the nib. So, like that. Okay. Another problem that could be happening with railroading is maybe you were adjusting this with your fingers and you got, you know, your fingers are all over it, and our fingers have oil in it. It's just a body thing, and that transfers the oil back to the nib. So it was just back to square one. The nib was just repelling the ink because there was oil on it. So what you gotta do is, if you find yourself railroading a lot and you were dipping correctly, just real quick, just swirl it in your cleaner again, just and that should take care of the problem. It's a good idea to have a cleaner by your table at all times. A little bit of water also helps clean your nail. Here's another problem. I'm simply pressing too hard. So when you press really hard like that, it uses up a lot of ink. So it tends to railroad more. There is like not really a good reason to press so hard, because you know, if you want to write gracefully, and you press so hard, first of all, it looks really weird, and it blots and it railroads and it looks, you know, not so nice. So just try pressing a little less, just a little bit, and this creates much more graceful letters, and you can write for a lot longer, and then you can really get your flow going. So don't press too hard. Here is another problem. It's blotting and it's looking really weird. It could be because you're writing too slow. So when you're really slow like that, the ink has nowhere to go, but it just pulls. So especially if you dip too much, and you press too hard, it pulls, right? So to solve that problem, go a little faster and write a little bigger. That way the ink has space to go. If it's too small and you press too hard, you know, you can't see anything. But if you write bigger and faster, then the ink has somewhere to go. There. This is another thing that happens, you know. It's because you dip too much. When you dip, show you. So what you want to do is dip and kind of like press it to the side a little bit. Then you get the excess ink off, and then you can write normally. Here's another problem that could be happening. It's creating blots. It's because the nib is held at too high an angle. It's too steep. See? What you want to do is lower it a little bit. Don't hold it like that because you can't see what you're writing. Lower it a little more, and it should stop the excessive blotting. If you want, you can go even lower. You could also use a pair of pliers to adjust your flange and press it up a little so it holds it at a lower angle for you, but I'm not gonna do that with this. Okay, here's another problem. It's stabbing into the paper. It's so annoying. Well, this happens a lot with very sharp nibs. For example, the Leonard Principle or Gillot 303. And one of the reasons is because my hand is not light enough. I was pressing down on an upstroke. When you go up, there should be no pressure. Instead, I was trying to press, so that creates all the stabbing and the horrendous splattering. So whenever you're writing and you're going up, do not press. Only when you come down do you press. That will eliminate splattering. Another problem that could happen with splattering is, again, I was holding this too high, so the nib is just freaking out. Try holding it a little lower. It's easier to write when your angle is lower. Splattering occurs, it's a common problem, so it still happens to me actually, and don't feel like it's a big deal. If it really annoys you, then it's a good idea to try a friendlier nib like a Zebra G or a Nico G. These two nibs are very polished and very friendly, and they will not splatter. Well, not much. Principle, they are great nibs, but for a beginner who is trying to, get things right, maybe it's not very effective. So if you're just starting, then maybe try a friendlier nib, and then when you're ready, you can use the 303 or the Principle. Here's another problem that could be causing splattering. In addition to pressing on upstrokes, this nib is simply too old. I've been using this nib for like months now, and it's super old and it's super scratchy, only because it's been used so much. So it's time to replace a nib if you feel that you've been using it too long and it's starting to act really weird. Here's another problem. It's not starting, and it's all gunky and weird, and the lines just getting too thick. This is a particular reason, and you see the lines are kind of like all jagged. It's because I haven't cleaned this nib in like a long time. I let the ink crust on it, so it's basically like writing with a charcoal stick now. So you want to make sure that you always clean your nibs. See, it's all crusted and gunky. Always have some water by your desk and clean it with a clean paper towel or cloth. Here's another common problem. It's not starting. So this is a common problem with Browse Rose or Browse 66EF. I have made another video that addresses this, but the main consensus is what I do is I kind of like stab a little area, create a dot, and then write from that dot. So that's how I start this nib. If it's not willing to start, then I just do that, and then it starts. I also hold this nib at a higher angle than my other ones because it just won't start. So if I hold it at a low angle, it's never gonna start. So I hold it at a higher angle, create my dot, and then I continue at my lower angle. So that's my way of getting these stubborn nibs to start. So you want to make sure that you're not pressing, you're not pressing too hard. You want to have a very light hand dealing with these guys. So I hope this video has been helpful for you, and please don't feel like these problems are not ever supposed to happen. It happens, it's normal. It happens to me occasionally too. Like sometimes I'll be doing a job and I railroad or I splatter or something. It's normal. It just shouldn't be happening on a frequent level. So if it happens once or twice, fine, whatever. But if it keeps happening, then I hope these problems will be solved, and I hope that I have helped. Thanks for watching. The next video will cover ink problems.